Cold wind off Clear Lake, February 2nd, 1959. Pull up a chair, folks. Tonight, we're headed into one of those nights that sticks like frost on a neon sign. Buddy Holly's winter dance party rolled into the Surf Ballroom, Clear Lake, Iowa. Wasn't even on the original routing, but the house wanted a show, and that tour needed the money. The buses were bone cold, heaters on the fritz, drummer laid up with frostbite. That's the kind of winter we're talking about. Inside the Surf, it's packed and loud. Cribs Bob Hale is emceeing. Carol Anderson's running the joint. Waylon Jennings, just 21, Buddy's new bass man out of West Texas, doing whatever's needed, playing, hustling, trying to keep that tour stitched together with coffee and grit. Buddy's already decided he's done with that busted bus. He asks Carol to line up a little Beechcraft out of Mason City. Destination, Fargo, North Dakota. Closest runway to the next night's gig in Moorhead, Minnesota. 3 seats for the band plus the pilot. That's the plan. Now here's where it gets personal. J.P. Richardson, y'all know him as the Big Bopper. He's sick as a dog. Flu's got him. He asks Waylon for that seat. Waylon looks at the size of the man, thinks about another numb night on that bus, and says, "Go on, take it." And that one small kindness turned into a lifetime of what-ifs. Backstage banter, Buddy grinning, ribs Waylon. Hope your old bus freezes up. Waylon, just as quick, fires back, joking like bandmates do. Well, I hope your old plane crashes. You can hear the room laugh and shuffle on, but that line would sit on Waylon's shoulders for decades, heavier than any Telecaster. Meanwhile, the last seat's up for grabs. Guitar man Tommy Alsop and young Ritchie Valens work it out the old way, a coin flip. Some folks swear Tommy tossed it himself. Bob Hale says he provided the quarter and flipped it in a little side room off the stage. Either way, Ritchie calls heads and wins. That puts Buddy Holly up front with Valens and the Big Bopper behind him, and Waylon and Tommy headed for the bus. After midnight, Anderson drives the 3 out to Mason City. The pilot is Roger Peterson, 21, Dwyer Flying Service. Snow spitting wind up, that February sky black as a well. Just before 1 a.m., the Bonanza N3794N lifts off, tracks south, then banks northwest. Folks watch the tail light dip and fade. Out there in a frozen cornfield, 5, maybe 6 miles from the airport, the ground rises up faster than a young pilot can read his gauges. Sunup brings the reckoning. Jerry Dwyer goes looking in his own plane, spots the wreckage strewn a few hundred yards across the stubbled field. 4 gone, Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, J.P. Richardson, and Roger Peterson. The Civil Aeronautics Board will later write it plain. Weather briefing missed the worst of it, winds howling, horizon gone. Peterson wasn't certified to fly by instruments only. A confused gyro, a dark night, and a snow veil led to a deadly loss of control shortly after takeoff. Official word calls the decision to go most imprudent. That's a government way of saying sometimes you don't get a second chance. Back in Clear Lake, Waylon hears. Imagine being 21, your mentor gone, your last word's a bad joke that now feels like a curse. He carries that weight. In the years to come, he'll talk about the guilt that stuck to him, how it shadowed his mornings and kept him up nights. If you've ever said the wrong thing to a friend and wished you could call it back, magnify that by 1,000, and you're close to what sat in his chest. The tour, cruel as the business can be, keeps moving. Moorhead expects a show. Bobby V steps in on the fly. Waylon and Tommy finish out dates the best they can, but that northern winter feels colder than any before. Later on, Waylon goes home to radio, drifts a while, then claws his way back. Phoenix bars, Nashville battles, and the whole outlaw era. But whenever reporters bring up Clear Lake, he answers careful, shoulders set. He never forgot Buddy's kindness, producing his first record, taking him out on the road, and he sure never forgot that throwaway line backstage in Iowa. Now folks, here's what the paper trail tells us. The Surf's own history says Carol Anderson called Dwyer, booked that plane to Fargo, and drove the boys out after the show. The FAA's Lessons Learned file and that old CAB report detail the weather, the instruments, the timeline, takeoff, climb, turn, descent. And in Waylon's own account and those museum notes in Nashville, you'll find that banter with Buddy preserved like an artifact because it explains the size of the wound. There's a bit of debate about the coin, who flipped it, which room, even who was originally invited. Dion later told his version, with the $36 fare ringing in his ears like his parents' rent money, but most roads point to Alsop and Valens settling it with a quarter, heads, taking the seat. Either way, Waylon's seat went to the Bopper because a sick man asked, and a kid from Littlefield said yes. What's the legacy? Musically, it lit a fire under a lot of folks to treat travel with respect. No more shrugging off a winter sky. In Waylon's heart, it set a compass. You can hear a kind of hard truth in his later records, that sense that life cuts both ways, luck and loss traveling as a pair. And here's the human piece. A casual joke can linger like smoke, but it doesn't make you the wind. Waylon didn't cause that crash. The weather and the gauges and the pilot's training did. Still, he carried the memory because that's what loyal men do. They remember. So when you see a black-on-white photo of the Surf Ballroom marquee, think of a young bass player holding a bass that wasn't his, a pocket that didn't have 36 extra dollars, a hallway where a quarter spun in the air, and a snowy field where dawn told a terrible truth. That night took 3 stars, but it didn't take Waylon. He got to live with the story, and he tried like hell to live up to it. Y'all take care out there in the winter.